I'm Liv, your emotionally exhausted, chronically online host, and every day we talk about life, relationships, internet chaos, bad decisions, awkward moments, and all the things that spiral way faster than they should.
Okay, ridiculous statement to pull you in. I once told a date I foraged my own dinner just so they'd think I have a hobby that wasn't scrolling. Spoiler, I ate store-bought kale and lied to their face. And yes, it absolutely backfired.
Here's the plan for 10 minutes of unfiltered chaos. We're defining the weird flex, the tiny, embarrassing things we brag about to seem cooler or more interesting. I'll confess the dumb little lies I tell to sound curated, drop a hot take on why flex culture exists, and then narrate the date that imploded because I tried too hard. I promise vivid humiliation, a tiny moral at the end, and at least one laugh that makes you snort into your tea.
Round 1, small, petty flexes. These are the ones you see in group chats and immediately judge. But secretly, sometimes you do them too. Like the person who says, "Oh, I only shop vintage," while wearing a shirt with a $5 store tag tucked inside. Or the friend who casually mentions their rare vinyls, which are just the soundtrack to that one indie film everyone watched in college. Or me, loudly declaring I'm a morning person because I once watched one sunrise on a work trip. We all have these tiny theatrical props in the performance of ourselves. Confession time. I once posted a photo of a thrift store jacket with the caption, "Curating my capsule wardrobe," and a friend DM'd me, "Cute caption. How many times have you actually worn it?" I draped it over a chair for 3 weeks and then spilled coffee on it to avoid wearing it to brunch. It felt curated until it looked like I was hiding from my own laundry basket.
Now, the hot take, flex culture is basically insecurity wearing its fanciest outfit. We perform virtues and interests like costumes because attention is cheaper than intimacy. There's an entire economy of clout around being convincingly aloof or funny or deep. And keep in mind, it's performative whether it's humble bragging about thrift finds or inventing a niche hobby to sound complex. We see someone do it and we mimic it because validation is a dopamine pill handed out by likes and by impressed nods at parties.
But here's the part people skip. Performing feels safer than being seen. It's easier to flex a curated life than to say, "I'm lonely on Wednesdays," or "I don't know how to cook anything that isn't microwaved." So we lie in small, fashionable ways. We tell ourselves we're building a brand when we're really sticking up a cardboard cutout of ourselves and taking photos from flattering angles. Vulnerability doesn't trend as well.
Okay, escalation story. This is the flex that absolutely spiraled. Picture a low-stakes dating app match named Colin, very normal name, who mentions in passing that he likes unique culinary experiences. I panicked, not because I don't like food experiences, but because I have a terrible habit of deciding someone's worth by how impressed I think they'll be. So I announced, with the quiet confidence of someone who reads listicles, that I make everything from scratch and I have a fermentation hobby. Now, before you start picturing jars of kimchi, I'd like to be clear. I'd once left a jar of salsa on my porch for 3 days and called it marinated. But Colin was excited. He suggested a picnic at a museum lawn, which is a very cute, very second date vibe.
Fast forward, I spend 2 days crafting an artisanal-sounding picnic. I bought fancy crackers, arranged cheese like a person who studied cheese academically, and made a jar of my special fermented something, which in truth was store-bought pickles presented in a glass mason jar with a ribbon. I printed a tiny label that said, "Liv's Lab Ferments." I had a thrifted linen cloth, an echoey sounding playlist, and a plant I claimed to have propagated. I texted my friend Sam pictures with, "This is peak domestic goddess energy." Sam replied with 3 egg emojis and 1 crying laughing emoji. We meet at the museum lawn. I unveil the picnic as if unveiling a new app. Colin is impressed. He compliments the label. He asks about how I learned fermentation, and my throat is a desert because my mouth is full of lies and brie. He asks for a taste. I hand him the jar. He opens it, takes a bite, and pauses. He says, "This is good. Also, do you actually make this? Because I follow a fermentation chef who does something similar and then proceeds to pull up a photo on his phone. He's not comparing to my fake jar. No, he's comparing to a professional and starts explaining lactofermentation like he's on a podcast. I try to pivot by saying, oh yeah, I used their technique, which is code for I saw an article once and relabeled a pickle.
Then Sam, bless them, texts me, oh my God, your jar has a barcode sticker still attached. I look down. Of course it does. In a panic, I confess, I may have repurposed store pickles. And Colin laughs, kindly, and says, I appreciate the theatrics, honestly. But here's where it folds. A mutual friend who's on the same app recognizes my lab label from an Instagram story a week earlier where I was trying to make kombucha and set my kitchen towel on fire. They screenshot it and send it to the group chat that includes Colin. Suddenly, my whole picnic is less artisanal and more performance art at a dinner party. I am roasted, but in the friendly way that makes you want to die a little and also laugh.
Group chat reenactment. Sam types, barcode chic, where couture meets aisle 3. Friend A, why is Liv fermenting with retail packaging energy? Friend B, she's doing a billionaire's hobby on a blogger's budget. Colin, plot twist, I also once relabeled jam to impress someone. And then everyone sends a crying laugh emoji, and I feel simultaneously exposed and weirdly accepted. That's the weirdest part. Humiliation and connection sit on the same bench.
Pete confession. I didn't actually want to impress Colin with pickles. I wanted to be legible. I wanted someone to see a version of me that looked curated, steady, interesting. Underneath the jars and the labels, I was just another person hoping to be liked without having to show the messy parts, which are my true ones. The jar was a shield, and also a billboard that screamed, "Notice me, I am impressive." But what landed, in the end, was honesty and a trashy backup plan. We both admitted to little performative lies, laughed at our receipts, and ordered tacos. Connection beats a staged picnic almost every time.
Recap. Weird flexes are tiny covers we throw over ourselves to look put together. They're funny, sometimes cute, often dumb, and occasionally catastrophic. If you're out here inventing hobbies or pretending to be an organic beekeeper because it sounds interesting, I see you. It's okay. The thing is, people mostly want the real story, or at least the version of you that can laugh about the fake labels later.
Before I go, if you loved this train wreck of a picnic as much as I hated living it, leave a review and tell me your weird flex. Did you ever claim to be bilingual because you learned 2 phrases on a trip? Did you tell someone you grew your own herbs when it was a basil plant you bought at a gas station and never watered? Drop it in a review or DM. I will read the best ones on the show. Leave a review, share your worst flex, and give this episode 5 stars if you want my eternal gratitude and the right to roast you gently on my next rant.
If today's episode made you laugh, question humanity, or feel slightly better about your own life choices, then my job here is officially done. Stay chaotic.